18-month-old's favorite activity is pushing a chair across the floor, and their favorite word is? No. And they want any toy that they have or will ever play with. Isn't this true? And who works with twos? Yeah. 2.5 to 3, the hardest period of the preschool years. 2.5 to 3-year-olds are difficult, defiant, demanding. If you don't believe me, ask any parent or parents. Every Saturday morning, parents all over America, parents of 2.5 to 3-year-olds all over America wake up. Husband and wife, they wake up at the same time. Their eyes are open, looking at each other, both wondering the same thing. It's Saturday. There's no school. What are we going to do with this kid? And Mom always says the same thing. She says, let's go out of our way to be extra special nice to him or her today. And Dad gets up and says, I'm going to be really nice to him, and maybe he'll be real nice to me, you know. And of course, Dad looks at the child and notices that the child looks like he's coming down with something. And so Father says to the child, you look pale. And the 2.5 to 3-year-old says, I am not a pail. I'm a shovel, and you, he says, are a sandbox. And of course, Dad says, here I am trying to create Mozart, and the kid's growing up to be Groucho, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. Raise your hand if you work with 3s. Walk around, sucking their thumb, afraid of the alligators, the spiders, the ghosts. And the very next minute, what are they doing? They're telling you what to do. This incredible schizophrenic thing that's going on there. And of course, they'll say, don't sit, don't talk, don't laugh, don't kiss. Isn't it amazing that at birth, a child is a blob of protoplasm? By the first year is walking, the second year is talking, and by age 3 is ordering you around. Don't you find that absolutely amazing? Anybody a parent of 3-year-old? Yeah, so I have 3 words of advice. If you're the parent of a 3-year-old, get a babysitter. And I know mothers who've done that, and they come back, and they say to the babysitter, how were they? And the babysitter always says the same thing, fine until you walked in the door. And then all hell broke loose. My next book will be dedicated to mothers of 3-year-olds. It will be titled, Mommy's Home, Everybody Cry. That's what happened. And who works with 4s? Yay! And of course, you gotta love 4s because there's nothing a 4-year-old cannot do. Just ask them. You walk into a classroom of 4s and say, who can speak Latin? And everybody can. And of course, 4s will lie. The teachers of 4s know that they can't always believe everything that they hear. The reason developmentally for that is because 4-year-olds, they cannot distinguish between a thought and an action, a thought and a behavior. If a 4-year-old thinks it, guess what? It happened. So Mom says to her 4-year-old, did you have pleasant dreams last night? The 4-year-old says, well, you should know, you were there. And of course, 4s are intellectually all over the place. They're the kings and queens of non sequiturs. Listen to a 4-year-old speak. I live in a big house. My dog has a tail. My mom just took me to the supermarket. I'm Superman, really, I can fly. They're all over the place. Physically, 4s are all over the place. Their motto to teachers is, I'd like to stay, but I gotta go. I'm busy. They walk back, you talk to them, they're walking back, I gotta go, I gotta go. You watch them paint, you know. If you say, what are your paintings? I don't know, I'm not finished yet. It starts out as a house, those, that's a rocket ship. Then they take black paint. It's nighttime now. The symbols just keep changing so quickly, right? How about 5-year-olds? Who works with 5s? Yeah, very good. And of course, who's cuter than a 5-year-old? Columbus Day, I'm in a class for 5s. The teacher says, Jimmy, who was Christopher Columbus? Jimmy got all upset. I mean, he just he said, I didn't go to this school last year. I mean, you gotta love it. 5s, as much as 4s may not tell the truth, 5s are so honest. And the teacher of 5s knows more about what goes on in a family's home than anybody else. I was in a classroom with fives, and the teacher's talking about land transportation. A little boy raises his hand. He says, when my father drives his car, he goes so fast. And I say, Dad, slow down, or the cops will give you a ticket. And my father says, the cops will never catch me. I say to the teacher, is this true? It's every word. The public needs to know that young children are egocentric. Now, what does that mean? It means that young children, 3, 4, 5 years old, it's difficult for them to understand a different point of view, yes? That's why discipline is so hard, because you're telling them one thing, but this is so much fun to do it this way. Okay? The young child is at the center of the universe. The world revolves around me. I can't understand your point of view because I'm so caught up with my point of view. We say to a 4-year-old, why does it get dark out? Because I have to go to sleep. I'm in a class of 5s, and a little 5-year-old girl comes up to the teacher and says, I was absent yesterday. Did the other children come to school, or did they close it? And you can see she's thinking, if I'm not here, what will everyone do? Why would they want to even be here if I'm not here? So we know then that social interaction is so critical. Kids have to be talking to each other and to the teacher, because when they socially interact, they hear other points of view, and that helps to move them from being egocentric to sociocentric. And every now and then I'll walk into a daycare center, and kids will be doing worksheets for like almost an hour, 4-year-olds. No talking. And I get very worried. A lot of social interaction. The other thing we need a lot of is dramatic play. Because when children take on roles, they now are putting themselves in the place of someone else, looking at the world from a different perspective. That helps to reduce egocentricity as well. Young children are literal. Okay? You have 4s and 5s especially, even 3s. The teacher says to her children, boys and girls, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. How did it get there? Or we say, are you pulling my leg? Just hold your horses. Well, I was in another 5-year-old classroom, and this one had desks and chairs, and every desk and chair was taken, and here's a new student. And the teacher, she points to her chair, she says, sit here for the present. And it didn't occur to her at that point until later when he says, where's my present? What is the implication of literal thinking? Well, children need to be read to as much as possible so they understand words. They understand some words have double meanings. Young children are perceptual thinkers. So you say to a 4-year-old, how old are you? 4 fingers come up. Now, if you say to a child who's got his 4 fingers up, really, you're 4. Are you this many? The child says, because to a perceptual thinker, this is longer than this. I mean, if a candy bar that's longer has more candy, why wouldn't this be a larger amount than this? So we know, Piaget has told us that children in pre-operational stage have an inability to conserve. Right? And of course, as they get to be 6 and 7, they're able to understand this is the same as this, but it takes some maturity. But it also takes good experiences with a lot of concrete, manipulative materials. How we teach in some schools arithmetic, addition, even subtraction with worksheets, when kids are pre-logical and can't conserve, it's just more confusing to the child. So we got the infants, toddlers, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s. Raise your hand if you've been teaching so long you're really not sure what you do.